So while the president is in Vietnam, his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, testified before Congress, calling the president a racist and a con man. Cohen's nearly 7 hours of testimony accused the president of committing crimes while in office, but the president said Cohen is lying to reduce prison time. Mark Liverman has more details on Cohen's dramatic testimony before he returns for more today.
President Trump reacted to Michael Cohen's dramatic testimony for the first time during a press conference in Hanoi Thursday.
He lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax.
Testifying under oath yesterday, Michael Cohen said he didn't know whether the president colluded with Russia during the last presidential campaign, but did provide financial evidence on other allegations.
He asked me to pay off an adult film star with whom he had an affair, and to lie about it to his wife.
Cohen said President Trump reimbursed him for that payment, totaling $130,000 in installments, so it would look like a retainer. Republicans weren't buying it, noting he's about to serve a 3-year prison sentence for lying to Congress, as well as for charges of bank and tax fraud.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. No one should ever listen to you and give you credibility.
House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings was asked if President Trump broke the law.
Based on looking at the text and listening to Mr. Cohen, it appears that he did.
Cohen alleged that during the 2016 campaign, the president knew about WikiLeaks releasing hacked emails ahead of time. That contradicts President Trump's written testimony to Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
So now I'm joined by Jesse Weber, an attorney and host at Law and Crime Network. Okay, so I know you watched all 7 hours.
I did.
You were totally into it. Michael Cohen started off by, calling the president a racist and a liar and a con man, but ultimately this is about whether or not there was anything illegal that occurred. Did you see anything illegal that occurred? The focus seemed to be on the repayment of this hush money while he was in office, those checks. He brought paper.
He implicated him in a number of crimes, and crimes that we don't know about, including the Southern District. The question is, from putting the attorney hat on, will any of this stick? And if you want to just talk about the hush money payments, yeah, he said he directed it. He knew that the payments were happening. That's all well and good. But here's the thing that struck me as odd. First of all, he conflated two issues. He said, one, it was for the campaign, and two, it was to make sure Melania didn't know about it. He also said at another point, President Trump never thought that he was going to win. So how are these really hush money payments to affect the election if he never thought he was going to win? But here's the other way of looking at it, too. Even if he directed the payments, under the law, President Trump had to knowingly and willingly violate the law. And what did Michael Cohen say yesterday? He didn't even look himself to see if this was an illegal payment. So if President Trump's own attorney didn't look to see if it was illegal, how could the president know that it was illegal? And I think that's a really interesting loophole.
You mentioned this bit about the Southern District, that Michael Cohen made a suggestion that the Southern District was looking into perhaps other investigations that we don't know about. What did you make of that?
That's huge. Okay. And let me tell you why. The Southern District of New York doesn't have a mandate like Mueller's probe. They can look at anything, and they specialize in financial crimes. So although we don't know the details of what those investigations are, we can imagine it has something to do with President Trump's real estate business, perhaps his taxes, bank fraud, things that we've seen before. And
charity.
The charity becomes a huge thing. I mean, what did we learn? We learned that a portrait, he used a fake bidder. I mean, again.
According to Cohen.
And I want to make this clear. This is assuming everyone believes Michael Cohen and takes what he says is true. Now, even if you do, you're going to have to back that up with other evidence and other witnesses. But even if you take it as true, the idea that he would use this straw bidder to and use charity funds to pay for it, I mean, that is a blatant violation of charity and tax law. But again, you have to take what he says is true. And he's not the best witness, but I've seen worse witnesses myself.
So one of the other things that he said was that the president knew that Roger Stone was coordinating with WikiLeaks, and he describes a phone call that he overheard, and he talks a bit about that. I want to play some of that sound.
In July of 2016, days before the Democratic convention, I was in Mr. Trump's office when his secretary announced that Roger Stone was on the phone. Mr. Trump put Mr. Stone on the speakerphone. Mr. Stone told Mr. Trump that he had just gotten off the phone with Julian Assange, and that Mr. Assange told Mr. Stone that within a couple of days, there would be a massive dump of emails that would damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. Mr. Trump responded by stating to the effect, "Wouldn't that be great?"
Okay, so Roger Stone has denied this. You know, admittedly, he sort of alluded to the fact that he was in contact with Julian Assange, and then he seems to have backed away. How do you define contact? It's really vague. So he's denied it. Julian Assange has tweeted out that, he'd never been in contact with Roger Stone. Everything was already public. So if this is true, though, what does it mean?
Two ways I look at this. Yeah. It's not saying that the president authorized the hacking of the DNC. Here's what I look at. One, it could be a violation of campaign finance law if you receive something of value from a foreign national. And you could make an argument. You could argue that these emails were something of value during an election. That might not stick. This is the one that really matters. If in his written answers to Robert Mueller, he was asked, did you know about any contact between Roger Stone and Julian Assange about these emails? And he said no, and you believe what Michael Cohen just said, that's huge. That would be making a false statement to a federal investigator and possibly obstruction of justice.
Right.
That's the thing that's huge more than anything. So it's really if he ever lied about it. And again, that's believing Michael Cohen, and that's the big if.
You always have to say that. Rudy Giuliani, or the president's TV lawyer, as Cohen liked to refer to him, as said, that Cohen committed provable perjury because he said he never wanted a position in the administration. And he was questioned by lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, about that maybe this is sour grapes because he never got to go to the White House. You mentioned that you've seen worse witnesses, but yeah, he's a flawed witness.
Right. Well, a lot of times in any kind of criminal prosecution, and we're talking down the line if that were to happen, you can't choose your witnesses. And a lot of times they're people who've broken the law and they're taking some sort of deal. Mm-hmm. Now, here, the thing with him is, yesterday, did he embellish facts? Did he not tell the truth? Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't think anything's really going to come of that. Mm-hmm. The problem is he's a flawed witness because how ironic is it he's testifying against the same in the same body that he lied to? I mean, he opened his statement by saying, hey, listen, I know I lied to you guys before. Yeah. Believe me now. That's really what he said. Yeah. And so when you look at that, it's hard to believe everything. And also, he was convicted of crimes of deception. That's a huge point. And obviously, if you're the Republicans, obviously you're the Trump administration, you have a lot of material to go after. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to deny because one other thing that makes him a credible witness, he had more opportunities to bash the president yesterday, and he didn't take that. He said, I have no more information about that. I can't say that, including the fact whether he assaulted Melania.
Yes,
I have no information about that.
But he said more than that. He said that's definitely not the man that he knows. Right. And he did say he didn't have information about collusion or obstruction. The president interpreted it a little bit differently. He said that that Cohen had said there was no collusion. Right. That's not what he said. He said he just didn't have any information at all. Okay, so where do we go from here? You heard the testimony. Were you thinking, oh, I can see them calling, somebody else, maybe Weisselberg or somebody else to testify? But, now that they have this information, what's next?
Okay, there's a few things. Obviously, we're all waiting for the Mueller report and whether or not we'll actually get to see it. I think a lot of the things that Michael Cohen said will be echoed in that report. I think we'll hear a lot of the conversation about the Trump Tower meeting, Trump Tower Moscow. That'll come in there. Obviously, Congress is going to try to subpoena more people to testify. They're going to start their own investigations. Mm-hmm. I think they're starting to get material to move forward with impeachment proceedings, and that's an if. And again, we're just talking about impeachment, not even necessarily that'll happen, not even necessarily he will go to the Senate for a trial to determine if he will be removed. But they're gaining material to step forward. And the most important thing out of everything, the Southern District of New York. What are they investigating? They're in apparently constant contact with Michael Cohen, if you believe him. That's the thing to look out for.
Definitely. Jesse, thank you so much.
Thank you.